Hey guys, Blonde Astronaut or Toxicaz here, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about, it's not necessarily an update, but it's some devs notes, which is like what they're planning on doing in the coming updates. So while some of this actually might not go through, and some of this might only be like what they're thinking about doing in a way, I still think it's worth going over, as there's some changes that are kind of interesting in my opinion, and this is kind of like a major thing. So for the start, the Golem's resistances are going to be greatly lowered. That is pretty good for debuffing things, like using a defense down and stuff like that. Um, and I think greatly is pretty significant there as well, because, obviously, like, lowered is one thing, like, just like the Nat 5 rates get higher during the festival, it's like by 0.5%, but greatly lowered, I think that's just like to emphasize the fact that they're actually like putting in work and trying to actually lower the defense rates by a significant amount, or the resist rate, sorry. Second thing is, Golems no longer have immunity to Thirst and Taunt, which, honestly, that's pretty good. That's pretty significant, especially for early, because if we're assuming that Taunt's going to work the same way, even on their AoE, then you can just have, some Taunt monsters are actually going to be a little better, and, while I don't think that it's going to be necessarily make them viable, because like obviously when I say viable, I mean for late game players. For late game players, you're still gonna obviously you're not gonna really care about taunts for golems. You're still gonna like pretty much just like breeze through it in a way, because I mean obviously like you're just gonna want to use the most damaging things. So you're not really gonna bring like taunts or worry about their AoEs or anything like that. Same thing goes for Thirst, but for early game players, that could be pretty significant, since the Golem AoE is really what hinders a lot of the progress in a way. Anyways, going up to the next thing is changes to the Golem dungeon. Sorry. Skill of minions will be changed in Golem fight. No idea what that's going to be too, but I mean that'll be interesting for sure. Golem HP is increased. That's interesting as well. I think that's to make either. I think that's kind of to make saps a little more prevalent as well. They're trying to just like make it so that pure DPS isn't the only way to go. So they're trying to like make debuffs a huge thing in golems. So I mean that change is interesting. It's kind of like a now everything works in a way, and you really have to use like debuffs, or else your golem times are going to suffer. So like when I say you can't just brute force it, I mean something like using 4 wood arthurs or something like that on the water titan. It's not going to be as effective as using say like 3 wood arthurs and like a wood gatito, because now obviously you're going to hit the defense down a lot more, and it's going to be a lot more effective due to the golem HP being increased. But overall, I don't think it changes too much. This change at least doesn't change too much, especially for late game players. For early game players too, there's not really that many monsters with Thirst and Taunt, and I still don't think they're going to be that optimal. So yeah, it's not too big, this one. Next one is changes to Golem Dungeon layout. Now this one is really big. Attributes will be changed for all Golem floors except 5 and 10. So, I mean, I don't know what to make of this. Like, this is hugely significant, because we've already gotten all our golems, all our golem teams already like done. We already like know how we do them and everything like that. But now, like, say, like, the number one, this is super bad for early game players. For early game players who are just starting to make their golem team and stuff like that, this is incredibly bad for them, because, like, say, like, my friend, he's still making his golems be 17. Well, if this goes through, then it's going to be pretty, like, it's going to be pretty bad, because he's not going to be able to, like, what's it called? He's going to have to, like, scrap that whole thing. For all we know, that could be, like, actually, it's probably still going to be 7 or 8. Or 8 or 9, but still, I really don't feel good about this. I feel like that's an unnecessary change, and I think the reason that they did that was so that floor 8 wasn't light, because obviously floor 8 being light means that the dark attackers can just breeze through it super easily, which that does make sense to me. Like people I see that can have like sub 1 minute runs on Golems B8 with the right team, but I think that changing all of them is a little bit of a poor decision. I would change into make the fire one, make the fire golem be B8, and then make the light one BB6 or whatever like that, or something along the lines of that. But I just don't see the merit in changing every single one of them, as it's just going to hinder some of the early game players and not really hinder the late game players that much. Anyways, as we can see, my opinion is kind of seconded because, as you can see, floor 6 is changed to light, and it's a nerfed version of floor 10, and it's allowed to obtain 6-star gems. So I'm assuming that means it's kind of like the Dragon Dungeon, floor 6, where you can get 4 to 6-star gems. Or maybe it's 3 to 6-star gems, who knows? But anyways, that's not too significant. People aren't really going to be farming that anyways because it's just... It's gonna... Oh, that's gonna be you can obtain... Oh, it's a nerf version of floor 10, so you can earn any shape. Okay, so that's actually very, very interesting. I don't think it's gonna have very much effect, but that's definitely interesting. It's gonna be late as well, so I don't think anyone's gonna farm this late game. I don't think that anyone who that was farming B8 earlier is actually gonna go farm this B6 just because it can have 6-star gems. So I think it's just I mean, this change is like really annoying, mostly for all the attributes being changed. But past that, it's really like not that significant whatsoever. It's just like, okay, now like floor 6 can like have 6-star gems too. It's not that bad. It's not like that good or anything like that. But I am interested to see how they pull off the attribute change because that could be really bad, or I guess it could be pretty good too. Next one is changing adjustments for dungeons. Easy and hard story modes get boosted gold. That's pretty nice. Start time dungeon boss of lower levels have no more immunity to taunt and thirst. Okay, so that means that there's a stopping point. Just like the golems, it's not really going to be that significant. The story mode gold, you don't really get that much anyways. You get like 2k per run on extreme. And on easy, that's not even for extreme, so it's easy and hard, which is going to be like, I think 1 and 1.5k respectively, which means... I mean, it's pretty much nothing. Anyways, Asteron buffs and rebalancing, Water Shiva and Wood Nightmare. So I already made those videos. I already made every single one. I made like 14 videos or something like that about which Evo 3 to Nat 5 and stuff like that. Which Nat 5 to Evo 3, sorry. So this is this might fuck with my thing a little bit, but I might just put in the description or something like that, but I am very interested to see how they do that, as I think the Water Siegfried change was pretty successful. I think a lot of people like him now, and if they do something like that, they don't have to make him super OP or anything like that. They just have to make him viable for some separate entity besides, I don't know, like PvP. They can make him like a story mode farm or something like that. But they have to be viable for some certain entity. And while I understand the logic behind like Wood Nightmare especially, I don't really understand the logic behind Water Shiva at all. Like, why would you make that a Nat 5 ever? Like, they know that it was bad right when they released it. But anyways, yeah, I think that a very important part is going to be that like they make them useful, but useful in different areas besides the areas that are already like taken up by their counterparts. For example, don't make Wood Nightmare a PvP monster because, I mean, Water Nightmare and Dark Nightmare are just going to completely outshine it, and it's still not going to see any use. Don't make Water Shiva, what's it called? Don't make Water Shiva a PvP monster either, because Fire Shiva and Light Shiva are just going to completely outshine that as well. So I think with this comes like a little balancing factor where they have to make sure that they serve different purposes, I think. And I think that, but I do think that it's very good at touching off on these monsters. More to be announced separately as well is very exciting. Oh, by the way, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to trigger people. Anyways, Hero Festival changes. There will now be 2 attempts for Hero Festival a month. Introduction of Hero Festival tickets for 10+1, purchasable with your money. I don't know what this means, but maybe I'll get some. Maybe I don't know what this is. I honestly don't know what this is. What I'm assuming is that, and if I'm right, that's gonna be really upsetting to me. If I'm wrong, all right, fair enough. I'm assuming this means that you can have your Heroes Festival whenever you want, and there's a ticket that you use that you buy. You buy a Heroes Festival ticket, and then you get the Heroes Festival on for like, I don't know, like a day or something like that. So you buy a Heroes Festival ticket if you're gonna if you ever want to do a mass amount of pulls. I hope I'm wrong about that, but we'll see. We'll see. I do think that with them like making Heroes Festival a huge thing, it kind of just makes it less special. You know what I mean, though. At this point, if we're assuming they're going to be like 3 days each, 4 days each, that's already like 1/5 or 1/4 of the month. That's just Heroes Festival, and it makes it, I think, a little bit less special. I mean, I'm not complaining about more Nat 5s, but I feel like they make it less special, then it's just kind of like an average thing. And then it makes people like want more stuff and more stuff, even though we're already getting an insane amount of Nat 5s just from the regular Hero Festival. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm not sure how they're doing it yet, so I don't really have any like anything to like support my claims or anything like that. But I do think that they should keep it in moderation. Next thing is probably the most exciting thing: reemergence of exotic from past events, such as Jack, Gatito, Snowy, and yeah. So that's very, very interesting. I would not like them as capture event monsters, to be honest. Rebirth is kind of iffy. I wouldn't mind for Jack and Snowy since there's only light dark versions. Obviously, no one cares about water Snowy. But Gatito, I would not recommend doing a rebirth. If you do a rebirth of Gatito, then, or honestly even a capture event, because the reason that Gatito was so successful was because Titans weren't out yet, so no one wanted water Gatitos or anything like that. If you release Gatitos right now, everything goes to shit. Everything goes to shit if you release Gatitos as a capture or a rebirth event. And I am an advocate. Like, obviously I don't have a dark cat. I had 4 without squares, and I had to and then I had to settle for a wood cat. But so obviously I would be one of the biggest beneficiaries from this, but I can't encourage 433 to do that because at this point everybody okay, let me explain something. Way back when, everyone thought that Gatitos all of them were gonna be shit except for Dark. Everyone's like, okay, Dark is pretty good. Dark is pretty good. We'll just like farm like one Dark one, and then that's good, right? If you release Gatitos now, you know what's gonna happen? People are gonna farm 12 water ones, 12 wood ones, and 4 dark ones or some shit like that. You know why? Because if you farm that many, then you can use one wood one for each of your Titan teams. That's 100% defense downer for if you're like a high level water Titan fighter. With your wood Pinos now, you can fight them and you can put one on each side for your 100% defense stat for 100% attack downs on Fire Titan. Like that's gonna be insanely ridiculous. Plus, obviously, Dark Gatito bridges a huge wall. Especially now that B6 is going to be light, which means it's going to be a little bit weaker. It'll like bridge a huge wall between everything, and I honestly don't see the merit in bringing them back and bringing Gatitos back in specific. Dark Jack for sure. It's a nice passive healer that's not overpowered whatsoever. Same with Light Jack. It's a nice attacker. Snowies are pretty good for progression and stuff like that as well. Breaking the wall to B10. I do enjoy that. But the difference is Gatitos like. People are just going to take advantage of that, and I really don't think it's smart to bring them back, to be honest. So it looks like the next update is also going to be during May, so it's not going to be next week. But I am interested to see what they do. I do think a lot of this should kind of get like tossed or looked at a little bit. For example, like attributes changing for all of them. Bring back Gatitos, I think is a bad idea. Hero Festival, I can't say yet, but this seems like it's going to be another like Gleam package that's going to be just completely overpriced and kind of like a money grubbing thing, which I hope it's not. But yeah. Anyways, guys, that's been all. Thank you so much for watching. You guys can definitely let me know what your thoughts are, as that's going to be very interesting to me what everyone else thinks as well. And besides that, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.